The gilded prison of Versailles, born into absolute power in 1754, Louis Auguste de Bourbon never dreamed of wearing a crown. The heir to the most absolute monarchy in Europe grew up sheltered, awkward, and painfully aware of his own inadequacies. His grandfather, Louis XV, ruled France for 59 years, leaving behind not glory, but decay, an empire hollowed out by endless wars, corruption, and staggering debt. Beneath the glittering surface of Versailles, France simmered with hunger and revolutionary rage. When Louis Auguste became King Louis XVI in 1774, at just 20 years old, he inherited not a kingdom, but a catastrophe. The royal treasury was drowning in debt equivalent to nearly $300 billion in today's money. The people starved. The state teetered. And the young king stood overwhelmed beneath the crushing weight of a crown he never wanted. Golden halls echoed with silence as Louis wandered the opulent palace of Versailles, wrapped in elaborate robes that felt more like chains than symbols of power. Absolute authority surrounded him, yet he had never felt more imprisoned. A king who preferred locks to politics, while Queen Marie Antoinette dazzled the court with extravagant balls and masked soirees, Louis XVI retreated inward. He found solace not in politics, but in mechanics. For hours, the king disappeared into his private workshop, crafting intricate locks and keys, losing himself in their logic and precision. Metal obeyed rules. People did not. Louis was more comfortable perfecting a mechanism than governing 28 million increasingly angry subjects. He hesitated where decisiveness was required, delayed where reform was urgent. History would not wait. On July 14, 1789, as revolution erupted and the Bastille fell, the king wrote a single line in his diary: "Nothing happened today." France was burning. Its king was filing metal. A king who preferred locks to politics, while Queen Marie Antoinette dazzled the court with extravagant balls and masked soirees, Louis XVI retreated inward. He found solace not in politics, but in mechanics. For hours, the king disappeared into his private workshop, crafting intricate locks and keys, losing himself in their logic and precision. Metal obeyed rules. People did not. Louis was more comfortable perfecting a mechanism than governing 28 million increasingly angry subjects. He hesitated where decisiveness was required, delayed where reform was urgent. History would not wait. On July 14, 1789, as revolution erupted and the Bastille fell, the king wrote a single line in his diary: "Nothing happened today." France was burning. Its king was filing metal. The queen who sparked a revolution, Marie Antoinette, became the lightning rod for the people's fury. Her name symbolized excess, betrayal, and foreign influence. The phrase forever linked to her, "Let them eat cake," was likely never spoken, yet it ignited hatred that facts could not extinguish. Born Austrian, she was branded L'Autrichienne, the foreign enemy within. Every loaf of bread, every empty stomach, every unpaid tax was blamed on her gowns, her jewels, her laughter. In 1791, the royal family attempted to flee France. Their capture at Varennes shattered any illusion of trust. From that moment on, the monarchy was no longer misguided, it was treasonous. The crown had crossed a line from which there was no return. From palace to prison, on August 10, 1792, revolutionary mobs stormed the Tuileries Palace. The king and his family fled through secret corridors to the Legislative Assembly, seeking protection from the very people who now ruled France. They would never see freedom again. Louis XVI was imprisoned, stripped of his title, renamed simply Citizen Louis Capet. He was charged with conspiracy against the liberty of the nation and attacks on the general security of the state. The palace of gold gave way to stone walls and iron bars. The trial that divided a nation, the king's trial, began on December 11, 1792. Though presented as justice, the outcome was already sealed. Even revolutionaries were divided. Robespierre thundered, "Louis must die so that the Republic may live." Louis's own cousin, Louis Philippe, voted for execution. Thomas Paine, hero of the American Revolution, begged for mercy, arguing that killing kings only created martyrs. The final vote came down to a single margin, 361 for death, 360 for life. The monarchy ended not with thunder, but with arithmetic. January 21, 1793, the final dawn. At 6 a.m., Louis XVI heard his final Massachusetts composed, resigned. He told his confessor, "I have nothing to reproach myself with." 2 hours later, a carriage carried him through the frozen streets of Paris. Over 100,000 people lined the route, some silent, others screaming for blood. At the scaffold in Place de la Révolution, the drums began to beat. Louis tried to speak, his words were drowned out. "I die innocent of all the crimes laid to my charge. I pardon those who condemn me to death." The blade fell at 10:22 a.m. 1,000 years of French monarchy ended in a single stroke. The death that changed everything. The executioner raised the severed head. The crowd roared, "Vive la République!" But victory curdled into terror. Within months, the revolution would consume its own leaders. The guillotine would not rest. 17,000 more would follow Louis XVI to the blade. The king died quietly. The violence he unleashed would echo for generations.